All right. What is going on, guys? It is stage number 4, and this is the stage preview. So this is the one we've been waiting for. This is the one that I said that this is going to change the running and change how this event is looking. Now, we talked about it, maybe some sandbagging going on into stage 4. This is the marathon stage, and this is going to be challenging. That sounded probably over dramatic, but no, I believe this is going to be a stage. So this is the first leg of the marathon stage. For those playing the home game, marathon stage is simple. These guys are racing out into the middle of nowhere, and then they're going to spend the night out there in a sequestered kind of deal. They're racing towards a bivouac. I'm going to go with maybe cult-like. I remember one of the years everybody was basically dressed the same. They had like a bag of like souvenir clothes kind of thing. It just, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I don't know if they're doing that this year, but yeah, you've got the bikes on one course. You've got the vehicles on another course. We'll put the graphic up on screen so you guys can see it. But I was just reading through the general information of the stage, and they're going to be very, very similar. So we'll go over that here in just a minute, but let's take a look at what stage 4 is supposed to look like for this one. We'll get the app open and we'll get you guys up on the screen so you guys can see it. That is the map for the FIM side of the house. Very similar for FIM and FIA, as they do show both of them. So really quick, let's look at the top. Still in the same thing, 7:15 a.m. for a sunrise, 17:44 or 15:44 for a sunset on that one. AlUla to the Refuge Marathon 1. Tomorrow's going to be Refuge Marathon 2 onto Hail. So we'll talk a little bit more about that one in the next stage briefing for stage number 5, the second leg of the marathon stage. Tonight, though, we are talking about a stage that is about to get underway at 7 p.m., which was an hour ago now. The first bike left the bivouac, and then they are expecting at 8:30, so in about a half hour on Pacific Coast time, in a half hour, they're going to have the first bike taking the stage start, racing out to the Refuge Marathon stage. So what do we got? If you're looking at the graphic up on the screen, the blue line is going to be the FIM side of the house. So that is the vehicle race course or the vehicle route. As you can see, it kind of mirrors the moto side of it, although it looks a little shorter. So yeah, 417 kilometers for the vehicles, and then it is 452 kilometers for the motorcycles. So they're going a little bit further. First off, we've got 42% dirt track, 49% sand, 0% dunes, 6% stoned track. So very curious to see how this pans out for the moto guys. We'll talk about that in a second because I just saw something that caught my eye in the stage preview from the organization. So 64-kilometer road section, that is the commute to the start of the stage. That is what they are currently on right now, within a half hour of them finishing that. Then you've got the selective section going to be 417 kilometers for the FIM. And then you've got road section B going to be 14 kilometers long. And I got a feeling, let's see, they have, FIM, yep, 417. So it's actually shorter for the motorcycles and more direct than it will be for the vehicles. I had that backwards in there. So again, the yellow line going to be FIA, so Fédération Internationale Automotive in French, though. And then you have the FIM, which is the moto side of the house. For those of you that have been following the moto stuff, you're familiar with the FIM. There was a lot of stuff going on back and forth with moto racing here, even in the U.S. And yeah, so anyway. But all right, so let's see, what do we got here? Service route, 519 kilometers. So they are going to be transferring the bivouac to the main, like, since the teams will not be coming back, or the racers will not be coming back to AlUla, they're going to be heading out towards Hail. So that's where the service teams are going to be headed. They've got 520 kilometers to do on that one. Road section B is only going to be 14 kilometers for these guys. So they will finish the stage. They've got 14 kilometers to get to the bivouac, where they'll have a limited amount of time and obviously resources to be able to work and repair their bikes. So let's take a look at the map and the course map, how it looks. We'll jump down to the bottom left of this. And then let's see, stage 4 info for refueling. And so they have both stage 4 and stage 5 on this one, as you guys can see on the graphic. So 64 kilometers to the start of the stage. They will get fuel there or have the opportunity to get fuel. 209 kilometers to the neutralization. And then from the neutralization to the arrive selective section is going to be another 208 kilometers for those guys. 14 kilometers is going to get them to the bivouac. And then on the next day, the next morning, they're going to have 4 kilometers to get to the depart selective section, and then 140 kilometers to get to the neutralization. So they will take fuel on at the finish, and then that fuel at the finish is what's going to get them to the bivouac, and then is going to get them the next day, is going to get them to kilometer 140, where they will be getting fuel at kilometer 140. So let's see here. And then on the bottom to stage 4, range 158. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. That's going to be for stage number 5 on there. So really curious to see how this stage shakes down. I will post, and you guys can see we're going to change the graphic here really quick, and let's jump over to the stage information. Now, this is for the motorcycles, and from what we're seeing, 0 to 125 kilometers, numerous fast sandy tracks through canyons, difficult off-piste navigation, then an alternation of paces after the canyons, still with delicate navigation. So sounds like the first day or first part of this stage is going to be tricky. And then they're still going to throw at you that, oh, caution, by the way, yesterday's tracks are kind of here too. So can't rely on the tracks in front of you as easily. Now, this is what we talked about. Not only do you have tracks from yesterday, but now the vehicles are on a separate track. So they're not going to have that comfort of having bikes leading out on the track. Now, if they get to a tricky section, it could be one of two things. If they happen to interchange or cross paths, is this the bike track? Is this their track? Is it our track? Is it a track from yesterday? So there's a little bit of difficulty in navigation there. We'll see how this shakes loose. You don't really have the exact overlay to be able to tell how much of this track actually is the same as yesterday's stage, even in reverse. So that could be another thing. So I think this is going to shape up to be a really tricky stage, maybe a little bit more so for the vehicles, but the bikes are definitely not going to have an easy time either, especially when they're saying that, hey, watch out. Yeah, you're going to have tracks from yesterday on this. Kilometer 125 to 130, very soft wadi, so it looks like they're going to be crossing some washes that might be on the softer side of things. Then 130 to 213, they have alteration of fast valley tracks and slower rocky tracks up to the neutralization, then a common section of a sandy riverbed up to CP1. So very interesting. That's checkpoint 1 for these guys. Then you have kilometer 213 to 239, fast and very fast plateau tracks up to check 2. So going to open up the stage a little bit. Obviously, they'll be a little bit quicker across that. And then we get into the more difficult kilometer 239 to 286, difficult navigation on tracks and off-piste over rock slabs. So that'll be interesting. So off-piste, for those of you guys playing the home game, means there is no track. You're off the track. You're making your own track. So this could be especially difficult, especially if you get into these rocky sections. A bad line could lead you up somewhere where you don't really want to be. Hopefully you have visual on the person in front of you or the rider in front of you or the vehicle in front of you if you're going to be taking the same sections. And hopefully you get lucky. But yeah, this could be very interesting. Obviously, that kind of stuff is very slow going, especially on, a heavier rally bike when compared to what you would be doing on a hard enduro bike. From there, let's talk about kilometer 340 to 370. Nope. We missed the section. Kilometer 286 to kilometer 340, so a good chunk there. Pleasant, winding, sandy tracks to ride on, then arrival to a rocky plateau, sometimes involving rocky trial-type sections that are not always clearly visible. So there you go. That's going to be the fun. So I hope people have been practicing their trials riding. Some of these racers, I'm not sure who do we know that's competing in the moto class that we know also does trials stuff, maybe as a hobby or maybe competitively. That's we'll leave that as homework. Drop the comment below. Okay. Kilometer 370 to the finish line. Oh, 340 to 370. Track becomes more visible and faster, but watch out for undulations. For those of us on the Western Hemisphere that have raced Baja, basically watch out for the whoops. Yeah. So that could be interesting for a bike. Rally bikes, I don't think are really set up to be much in riding whoops. You got this navigation tower that's just sitting there waiting to smack you in the face if you start doing some of these stuff. But, if you look at, I don't know, Ricky Brabeck, Skylar Howes, Mason Klein, man, I'm trying to think who else, Chuck Sanders, Daniel Sanders, Chucky Sanders. Let's see. I'm sure you got a few racers in there that are no strangers to the whoops. Andrew Short, but he's in a car. We'll talk about the cars here in just a second. So then from there, so that's up to kilometer 370. Then from kilometer 370 to the arrive selective section, the ASS, very difficult navigation between tracks and off-piste. Presence of rocky sections and windy sandy tracks, overall rather slow. But the last 15 kilometers will be flat out all the way to the finish. So I'm sure that is going to be a welcome sight. Sounds like say, okay, be patient. You're going to get to a fast section here. But I mean, 15 kilometers, you're talking about 8 miles or so. Yeah, not a whole lot there. Okay. They do make it very specific. Again, watch out for crossing with tracks from stage number 3 and the Dakar Classic. They are marked in the road book. Now, something important about this, we talked about this in an earlier episode where we talked about how Mo Hart and some of the competitors, Willem Avenant, that raced the Dakar, that continuously were finishing a little bit closer to the back of the pack. You have a whole different race course because of all of the vehicles, because of all of the big, especially the big, the garbage trucks, the big, diesel powered 1200 horsepower, 50-inch tall tires. These guys will dig up some ruts and they will make mounds of dirt that were not there before in all of these corners. So depending on how these tracks cross each other or parallel each other, this could lead to a rather dangerous situation if you don't have your eyes open. So hopefully the Dakar and the organization has marked these adequately and we don't have any surprises. Today, we saw it this morning. We saw the clip of Tasha Sharena getting a little bit of a dusting there early on in a rock or a root or a rock or something that was buried there near a tree kind of in the shade. It collected many riders. Tasha was not the only one that went down. But Tasha did go down and was able to continue. Tobias Ebster took a pretty bad spill, but today was his day. He unfortunately had to retire from the rally. So very, very dangerous stuff. It's the same with the bikes. At least the cars have a fighting chance if they hit it, and their suspension is set up rather okay. But at least they have a cage. So we'll see on that one. Okay, last bit of information on this one for the FIM. It is kilometer 320.67 uphill trial section over 200 meters off piste. So basically, you're going to do some mountain goat stuff. Here we go. That'll be interesting. 389.75 rocky pass with difficult trial section on the descent. So what goes up must come down. So you're going to go up and then you're going to come down some kind of trials type rocky section. That'll be interesting. I think down is probably easier than up. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. So that is from the vehicle, or excuse me, that is from the moto side of things. Let's see if they are talking about anything else down here. They combined them. So you have the FIA, and now let's look at FIM, and now let's look at the FIA stuff. FIA is pretty much the same, although they do talk about towards the end of it, there's going to be some additional trial sections that they are going to have to do. That's going to be a little bit more difficult, obviously, for the vehicles, but I guess they're kind of better equipped in that one. So let's see here. So kilometer 44, sandy climb, trial section between rocks at kilometer 133, passage over undulating rocky slab at kilometer 303. So it's really pretty much the same, except that kilometer 262 to the finish, difficult navigation between tracks and off-piste, presence of rocky sections and winding sandy tracks, overall rather slow. The track will pass through a few narrow gaps between the rocks. The end of the stage speeds up with some more technical sections, creating changes of pace. So very interesting there. The last 5 kilometers are very fast with junctions with the FIM before the ASS. So not too bad. I would think that if it was the other way around, it would be worse if the FIM or the bikes were coming into sections that the vehicles had already gone through. That could probably be a little bit more dangerous, but I don't know. Either way, the Dakar is not letting up. Going to have to keep your eyes open if you're out there. And yeah, I think this is going to be fun. This again, this could be a game changing. There could be a changing of the guard up at top. We're seeing. I feel like there's a little bit of strategy going on here, but we'll see. I don't know. It's kind of difficult. It seems like they did have bad luck, and we had some flat tires today, and we had some downtime. On the vehicle side of the house, it's funny how the Toyota Gazoo vehicles kind of finished one after the other, a little bit further down the pack. Hank, Price, Quintero. I don't know. Maybe there's some strategy going on there. This could be important. And then depending on the outcome of this, you still got the monster stage coming up. And then on top of that, you've got another one of these marathon stages coming up in the second week. So I'm curious to see how it's going to go. What are the predictions? What are you guys thinking? Are we going to see a changing of the guard up at the top? Ricky Brabeck has been putting consistent performances. He's currently cruising in third. I feel like maybe we're going to keep that up. You've got, Tasha Sharena picking up the stage win in stage number 3. Now going to be leading out on the marathon stage. Chucky Sanders up there as well. Benavides. There's definitely a group there. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, leave the comments below. We're going to get this posted. We'll get this going. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. And we'll see you guys for stage number 5 preview. And then don't forget, we'll be doing the results as well, talking a little bit about what happened on stage 4 and what to maybe expect on stage 5. We'll see. All right. See you guys.